Penelope Scott is one of my favorite artists, and she has been for a while. Her songs have an interpretive element to them, but I can still personally connect to them. When I listen to her music, the songs and lyrics get me, and I started to realize it wasn't just me who they connected to, it was my entire generation. I'll be covering 3 of her songs today: Cigarette Ahegao, Feel Better, and Rat, and how they relate to the Gen Z experience. These are the songs that I connect the most with, and some of the ones that are the most popular, but I do recommend all of them when you get the chance. And before I get started, every single one of her songs is up for interpretation. This is just my personal interpretation of it, so don't take the video too seriously if you disagree. So without further ado, let's get into her first song. Cigarette Ahegao abstractly explains those complicated feelings you have when you're a teenager in high school. The song feels like that blurry vision you have walking through the halls to your next class, wondering if you're even going to be alive the next day. The main part of this song is obviously Penelope Scott singing, but there's parts of the song that are spoken by her and by another man who is pushing his opinions into the song. I'm going to address the parts that the man says first. So obviously there is a man who occasionally will insert his beliefs into the song. The first thing he says is, "As an American," before being cut off by Penelope going, "Fuck." It is the intro to the song, and it's not only a great introduction to the song, but it's also a great introduction to the American education system. I'm Canadian, so obviously I have no first-hand personal experience with the American education system, but I've heard and read multiple testimonies, and I've done enough research to know that it is shit. Everything is whitewashed, parts of history are blatantly ignored, and there's more importance put on pledging allegiance to the flag, from an outside view that is extremely culty, by the way, than actually learning or preparing for the real world. From the first line of the song, you already feel the fatigue radiating off of Penelope Scott and from teenagers as a whole. The next thing the man says is, "Incels just have sex," which is presented as a fix-it-all solution to any of men's problems. That is just immediately treating women as sexual objects who are nothing more than things for you to use to make yourself feel better. Which, looking at the American education system and the rules they have with dress codes, it's pretty well taught in the American education system. Next is the little things that Penelope will say throughout the song that aren't connected to the main lyrics. The most common one is "ooh woo," which relates to the title of Cigarette Ahegao. This is often said after lines expressing sadness or negative feelings. Considering "ooh woo" is often considered a noise that women make in adult films, this can be seen as teenagers covering up depression with sexuality. When you're a teenager and everything sucks and you just desperately want some form of escapism, and then every adult is telling you that under no circumstances you should have sex or do drugs, those are the 2 things you are going to do. How else are you supposed to cope? I want to go over a few lyrics in the song, but not the entire song because that would take too long, so I'm just gonna take the lines that stick out to me most. The line, "In my defense, I wasn't supposed to be around this long," is very clearly a reference to the suicidal ideation that is common in teenagers and young adults nowadays. So many teenagers and young adults are being asked to think about their future, but how can you think about your future if you don't even know if you're going to be alive then, or when you expected to be dead a few years ago? There's not much future planning to do when you don't even know if you're going to have a future. The next line is, "Someday I'll have my own life and leave this all behind." It's a contrast to the suicidal ideation, but it has a similar vibe with wanting to leave everything in their life behind and start anew. For the first line I talked about, people wanted to start a new life by ending theirs, which is a common ideation, but in this line, it's about running away, moving away, getting away from everything, which is not always healthy, but in certain cases it can be very helpful. When I listen to this song, all I hear are the cold hallways of middle and high school as I try to get to my next class and try so hard to not cease existing while focusing on the fact that I don't fail out of every class I'm in. The next song is called Feel Better. This song very bluntly explains the addiction to sadness that a lot of deeply traumatized people can develop. When you are subjected to trauma over a long period of time, this is what starts to feel comfortable for you. You subconsciously long for that feeling of helplessness and hurt. So, feeling better feels so far off the goal that you don't even want to reach it anymore. The specific trauma that is told to us in this song is that of a failed relationship. I read this as an abusive situation that didn't end up working out, but the singer feels like she belonged in. It's a scary part of a lot of victim stories that they don't even want help because they feel like that's what they deserve, or they feel comfortable in that situation. She lists all the different things she could become, all the ways she could change to make it work, but it just doesn't happen. And she was stuck in that loop for so long that she doesn't know any different. She either wants to go back into that situation or she doesn't want to live. She doesn't want to feel better. I relate this back to Gen Z because there's a lot of controversy about this generation faking disorders, faking disabilities, or self-sabotaging themselves. But what a lot of people don't realize is that this is in and of itself a coping mechanism for very real trauma. These are children being thrust into the world after experiencing severe trauma, and the only way they know how to function in society is through suffering. So they make up their own suffering. They don't know how to be happy, but they do know how to be the victim. So that's what they make themselves into. The next song I'll be talking about, Rat, has its own explanation video from Penelope Scott on YouTube, and I definitely recommend watching that, but again, this is my personal interpretation, and I am going to see how this relates back to Gen Z in what I read from this song. Obviously, this song is inspired by Elon Musk, but I think the lyrics reach further than that. It's so general and vague that it can't just be about one person. The lyrics display a person who looked up to the other people in their government or the people that the government praises. It's rich people, smart people, manipulative people without you realizing it. And everyone that we raise to believe are our modern saviors. And as you grow old and you do more research, especially at the age of the internet where everything is everywhere, you realize that these peoples are just pieces of shit disguised as chocolate ice cream. The rich people got rich on the backs of the poor. The smart people are actually dumbasses that figured out a single loophole in the system. And the manipulators also manipulated you. There are no saviors up there. Every celebrity, every politician, all have capability for evil. And when the imperfect person is treated as if everything they do is worshipable, the power will quickly get to their head. This song is about realizing that your heroes are no better than you. Just a flawed person who's trying to figure shit out as they go. The only difference between you and the person you see on TV is that they fooled everyone. And you haven't learned how to do that yet. And you can't be totally against them however much you want to be because of how much you worshipped and supported them and wanted to be like them. So you're stuck with the question, is this my future? If you're Gen Z and you don't think any of this relates to you, then congratulations. You're not traumatized. But if it does relate back to you, then you're not alone. Listen to her music, and I hope you feel seen by it. Feel heard. If you were already a fan of Penelope Scott, then let me know what your favorite song is down in the comments. And check out Fentanyl, a song by Penelope Scott and a friend of mine, Cherry. Which is so cool that my friend got to do a collab with Penelope Scott. It's so cool. Anyway. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.